start. I've met most of you. My name is Mel. You hear me on the phone in different places, but my wife and I and my son own Crest. And first of all, thank each and every one of you for being here. We didn't know about this session. I've had some folks reach out to me and say, Mel, you know, I'm in the business to make money, and this thing can be tough right now. So, but I'm not sure how I measure what I should be measuring, and boy, I sure wonder how I compare to Joe and Frank and Bob and the different people. And we looked, and there was no comparative information on financials out in the world. I frankly, for years, belonged to a lawn and garden distributor association, and the only reason I paid them $1,000 a year for dues was for this information. It let me know how my trucking compared as a percentage of sales, my advertising, all my different things. There are different key numbers that are important to you. So we're going to try to teach you those a little bit today, but then also what we're proposing to launch is a program where Glenn's office staff, and it's totally confidential. Nobody in Crest will ever see these numbers. I give you my word on that. But it would be a way, and that's the way the other thing worked. I sent my numbers in to some competitive companies that we were all in the thing together, but confidentiality was a critical part of it. But we will be putting together, if the market wants it, a comparative program where you'll be able to compare different ratios to other people. And with his help, we're going to do it at an incredibly competitive cost of $250 a year to see if we can make it work on that. And if you reach out for any kind of accounting help, for many people, that might get you 30 to 45 minutes for some accountants out there. So just food for thought. We do not want to oversell this program. We just want to make sure we listen to you, and if it's needed and want it, then we go forward with it. So Glenn, as far as an introduction, this man is, I've told my son, he is our accountant, and of all the employees in the warehouse that we have, this will be my hardest man to replace if he retires. And we may not let him ever retire. But we run our numbers monthly. He'll be in here on the first day of the month, and we know on that first day of the month exactly what last month was like. What were our sales, what were our margins, what were our sales by item, we measure labor as a cost of sales, we measure freight as a cost of sales, and we'll be talking about what numbers are important to you. So Glenn, I'll be quiet. Okay, let you go.
All right, thanks. You know what you're all wondering first and foremost. How have I kept him out of jail for all this? Give the tax bill to his wife.
That's right.
The biggest failing that I see in all of my small business clients, no matter what business they're in, is they don't keep good enough records. And if you feel that way, if you don't take anything out of here, is records will save you money, they'll make you money, and they can help you save tax. The biggest failing that my clients have is they don't have good enough records to help them save tax. So as far as tax savings tips go, I just want to tell you that's where you can save a lot of tax dollars. But ultimately, my goal for all my clients, a little different than a lot of CPAs, is to maximize the tax that they pay. My goal at the beginning of the year is to pay as much income tax as I possibly can. That means I got more left over at the end of the year. And there are a lot of accountants that will disagree with that. There are a lot of accountants that do agree with that. There's a wide gap there in advice that's being given to people that are getting their taxes done, and businesses. I've seen it. I've been doing this, closing in on 30 years, and people that don't mind paying tax are the ones that are putting money in retirement accounts that have paid off debt and have seem to have a lot more disposable income. So if you're afraid of paying tax, then you're not going to be as successful as those that do pay tax. It's just that simple. And in the final analysis, if you pay tax, you're going to have a larger net worth than the people that don't pay tax. I'll get down off my soapbox on that, but you know where I stand there. And you ever have any doubt as to whether something is going to be, to make it a purchase or to make an investment, that investment should stand on its own 2 feet. So many times we say, oh, gee, I'll do this because it's a tax write-off. If it's not a good investment before taxes, it's not going to be a good investment after tax. Now, Mel said that the program that he's proposed would cost about $250 a year. And that mainly is because you're going to do all the work. We're going to get the information, but it's all going to be, should be information that we drop in the computer and spit it out. So it's not going to take very much time on our behalf. And I've got plenty of staff, even if it does. And I've got 2 young ladies that are very fast on data entry, and that's what it's going to be. Plus, I can keep the cost on that low because obviously I have less overhead. You got it?
We got it.
All right.
You mean no hair?
Whatever. This thing is all going to start with information that you have to develop. With small businesses, I see anything from handwritten scratching on paper like this to wonderfully done computerized financial statements that have a balance sheet and income statement and everything is right. If you don't do that, you need to do that. I mean, there's no question about that in today's business world. You can't manage your business if you don't know what's going on. Did you have a question, sir?
Is this kept confidential?
Yeah. Mel stressed that at the beginning. He's not going to get the numbers. I didn't tell you much about myself, but we're a public accounting firm, certified. We're a part of the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants peer review program. Everything in our office is confidential. And in this case, even though Mel may be in effect sponsoring the program, he's not going to be part of it. This is all going to be between you and me. I don't know that that he has any desire to know what you're doing. He wants you to succeed, and that's why he's doing it. And the more information that you have about your business, the better you can succeed, the better you can manage your business. All too often I have people that don't have any idea where they are in terms of their business and ultimately taxes until after the year's over. By then, it's way too late to react. But anyway, this is all going to start with your financial statements. I think that as we look at the program, it'll be nice to have balance sheets, although it won't be absolutely necessary. But if we have a balance sheet, that can help us look at ratios that are debt to equity type things and how you stack up with regard to your peers in terms of how much money is invested in the business and how much money you're getting back out of the business. But obviously the most important thing is going to be your income statement. And on the income statement, even if we don't have a balance sheet, we're going to know what shape your inventory is in. So we have run into the same problem there with a lot of small businesses. They don't know what their inventories, what shape their inventory is in either. As a retailer, your biggest cost is going to be your inventory. And that's your biggest opportunity to improve your profit, is making sure you buy the right thing, making sure you buy enough of the right thing, and making sure you're turning it over quickly enough. In addition, there are certain things that you may, that we may look to have you provide that will help you as well. These are a little more in terms of in tune with micromanaging, but it would be nice if we knew the number of tickets that you had, the number of items on the ticket, and of course the total value of those tickets. Because they tell us in our business one way that we can improve sales is to sell more to our existing clients. For you to measure what you're selling to each of your customers, you don't have some kind of guideline and some kind of base number to know where you're going to work from. You can't improve it. And that's going to be your goal. Hopefully, this will provide a goal for you to have a baseline and work toward improving the results based on your baseline. And it's going to provide a goal.
One quick thing there, Glenn. I saw some people saying, well, how do I, that's one more thing for me to have to write down. Any of you that are on QuickBooks or almost any POP thing, there's a report that will tell you that. It's there. A lot of us just haven't discovered it. Okay?
Yeah, if you don't have a good computer system, I'm telling you, you should get one. It's just that simple, because you can get so much more information.
What software do you recommend?
Well, it's going to depend a lot upon the size of your business. Mel mentioned QuickBooks. QuickBooks is a good program. Peachtree is a good program. They both have their limitations. They both are going to require you to do things in a specific way. And frankly, don't let the computer and the software programs scare you. If you haven't jumped in yet, jump in. Go ahead and do it. It's going to have a little learning curve. In my experience, it takes at least 6 months for you to be comfortable with a good computer system. And at that point in time, it's still not going to be right, but you're going to be on the right track. But
how many of you measure customer count today? Okay, so we got a lot of you doing that. Okay.
Once we've got you providing the information, then you'll get the information to us. We will take the information and compile it by all of the stores that come in. And then we'll issue a report that will show what your results are versus all of the peers put together. Now, it's not going to be a really true comparison. There are going to be certain items that are going to be different for different enterprises. For example, corporations are going to have a little bit different cost structure than an individual sole proprietor, because corporations, the principals can be paid a salary, whereas a sole proprietor, you just take a draw. Those we'll have to modify some of them to adequately make them comparative. But the primary purpose here is to show where you are with regard to all of your peers, or at least the participating peers. And that's just like, it's just basically what we term an analytical review. That can show not only where your sales are, your percentage of sales, your cost of sales, your gross profit, and what percentage of your expenses, or the percentage of your expenses relating to those sales. One of the things that is mandatory that we do when we do an audit is called an analytical review. We compare this year to last year. When we look at a company and we see what they did this year versus what they did last year, if we have any numbers that are particularly different or significantly different, that's going to point us at something that we need to look at in our audit to determine, well, we might have a little flyer here. So in your case, it may show you where you have had major changes, possibly, or where you may have some errors as well. But that analytical review, not only with your peers, but you need to do it internally as well. This year versus last year. It's something I do every month, something Mel does every month. Look at where you were versus where you were a year ago. Some of the things are going to change just simply because even though our government says we don't have it, I think we have some inflation. And those things, those are going to be normal, but that doesn't mean they're out of your control. If you don't know what they are, you cannot control them. And that's the key here. You know, we take a two-pronged approach to profit. Increase those sales, but drop those expenses if you can. I'm only going to talk about 3 of the major ratios that I feel are most important to you right now. One is, the first, I believe, is most important, live or die in a retail business, and that is inventory turnover. If you have $12,000 of inventory, you have $48,000 of sales, that means you've turned your inventory 4 times. I'm not sure Mel can tell you what a good number would be in your business right now.
I don't know of any numbers that exist on the retail store level. Just to give you a feel, we're at about 6.5 here in the warehouse. We have a goal of 8, and that's what we're trying to figure out. And we should have figured Songbird Stations. It's in the realm of 7 to 8. I didn't do the exact math.
You've got a 4. You've got pretty good. But
yes, Tom.
Is that overall inventory or each individual category of inventory?
We're speaking in overall right now. We will hope to, if you give us detail by category, and I'm making note who's in the audience, and those of you that are here, reach out to us. We're going to want to know, are you interested? And if you can share with us what numbers that you can provide, we're going to try then to come up with a template of what we would do. But seed turnover, of course, should be much, much faster for all of you than giftware, perhaps. So we will try to look at some of those things, but you can make more margin on some things that don't turn as much, too. Okay.
second thing, dollars per ticket. You got those people in the store, you can allow them to look around and buy what they came for, or you can try to sell them more. And dollars per ticket is going to be your goal and your baseline and your guideline as to how are we going to get that dollar per ticket up. And it does work. That's the key. You can, I mean, you got nothing easier to sell than this stuff.
When we made a conscious, talking to managers in the room, we made a conscious effort. We track that every month. I think we picked up like 0.3 items per ticket, but it will measure. That ends up being about $15,000 more to the bottom line.
Yeah, this stuff we feed Oreos, and they were eating us out of house and home. And they're beautiful, and my neighbor thought they were great, so I thought, well, I got him one. My cost went down.
Question. He asked, are we talking about units?
That's another item we want. We want items per ticket as well.
Yeah, this is not just dollars. We'd like to track both units and dollars per ticket if it's possible.
All of the detail. Now, I worked with Mel in certain situations where you can actually, you'll have some very good regular customers. You can actually even track those customers. And how can you track those? I mean, why do you want to track those customers? Direct mail. You let them know what's going on. Can you get any mail from Mel?
Once in a while.
Big thing, the ratios that you would see in this program primarily are all of the numbers in comparison to your peer groups for sales, cost of sales, and all of your different types of expenses. And if somebody's got ideas that they're really excelling at, I don't think, and it'd be up to you, if you were the one, that if you would share that with Mel, he could get it to the other people. Granted, if you're in a competitive, if you have competitors sitting across the aisle from you, you may not want them to know that. I don't know. Anything that would be released to anybody for any reason,
But again, when the numbers go out, never, other than the report that you give to yourself, nobody else will ever know your numbers. It'll just be your store and the group as a whole.
Nothing that you do through this program.
And I won't know, so don't call me up asking. Because unless you share them, I don't have a clue. Okay?
Nothing will be given to anybody for any reason out of this program without your express written consent. That's how I'm required to operate under the law. So that's just out of the question that anything would get out without you knowing about it or without you having your approval. There's only the only problem I see with this program is getting everything in and getting everything out in a timely fashion. And I mean, if you have those in the computer statements and you're comfortable with them, at the end of the month, fine, we'll get a method to get them in and get it back out.
How often do you see these reports?
The price that Mel quoted, $250 a year would be quarterly.
Yes, sir.
I think it's a really great idea, but if you don't have comparable data, then you end up with useless results.
Correct.
And one of the concerns that I have is that you have a mixture of internet sellers and stores, regular stores. If you mix the two, you're not going to have...
This program, I'm sorry if I didn't explain it, this program is for brick and mortar stores.
Oh, good.
Okay, period. Now, you may have some component of your business that's internet, and I mean, no offense, when I look around the room, I got several very good brick and mortar store customers, most of you are, that may have some internet, but this is about a place with 4 walls that people come to work every day and the cash register room. That's
good.
What this program's for.
Good.
We will look at if we need to sort, we're going to have to work, we have some lawn and garden customers in here, we're going to have to work through sorting out and letting you know who makes up the data bank, okay? And we will try hard to get it to the burning sections of those businesses only, is how that makes sense. But I didn't want to go into that much detail here. Yes, sir?
If you have a lot of SKUs, trying to keep them updated in terms of cost is extremely labor intensive. And we have a fairly decent computer system. But for example, inventory turnover or cost of goods sold, without those things, you can't see what you're talking about.
No, you're going to have to be, when you get a purchase order, entering your costs and updating it. So, you know, it will be no better than the data that comes in. Lynn's pretty good at, we're not going to be bashful about letting you know if we don't think the data is working. We're going to do he's going to do his best to screen it to work with you on that. Just real quick, because I do want to take questions, but Jen, just got to know right now, who's got at least a casual interest in the program? Okay, that gives us a feel. Okay, and I have one question right here.
Just another point on the comparison of the stores. There's a pretty good range of stores, so at some point you might want to look at a
No, he makes a very good point. And the comparative, I used to do this I was in the feed business before this, and we broke it down based on 3 different sizes of businesses. It'll all depend on how deep our data bank is, whether Glenn will be able to do that. But Glenn, if at all possible, he and I have talked about that. We're going to try to do that.
Now, that's what I was wondering is, we're farmers looking to a co-op in Reddit. We're
Lots of other things.
huge other things.
Right.
That's why I'll have to go back and...
Yeah, on those of you that have
possible for us.
lots of multiple lines, I haven't talked to him in a lot of detail, but in polling the crowd, we may just do a departmental analysis rather than a business
I
analysis.
have trouble even getting them to break down, my store is feed.
Right.
I have so many different things, I have trouble even getting them to break my department down
Right.
into...
And whether you can participate will just depend whether you can get them to give you those numbers. Okay? Yes?
West Coast, East Coast, some very things that are sold on the East Coast versus on the West Coast.
We would consider looking at that, but I think it would surprise you that still the core numbers should be, I think that isn't what I anticipate doing at first. Okay, Glenn, I may ask you to take some peek at that sometime, but I think you'll find that nationwide, I don't think the geography will have quite that big of an effect. It'll be more business type will be the biggest challenge in sorting.
what we can ultimately do, regardless, is this on?
Yes.
What we can ultimately do regardless is going to be dependent on the information we get. There's a mountain of things that and with computers today, getting information in and getting the report out is a snap. I mean, we're talking, if I get a financial statement from you, I can have your report in 5 minutes. It's just that easy. A lot of accountants don't lead you to believe that. They toil for hours and hours. At least that's what they're built at.
We will be a bird dog about it. If we will set timelines, and if you're not in, you may miss that quarter's work. That's how it's going to have to work, so that all the people that do it right get their information on a timely manner. Okay, that's not negotiable. We'll be sorry that you missed that. You'll get that analysis. You just won't have your data in at that time. You won't have your comparative for that quarter.
If I'm interested in doing this, is it possible to produce just a template first of what information you're going to be requesting?
Oh, yeah,
Actually, my follow-up after the meeting will be asking each of you. We'll send out a hypothetical one and then ask you to tell us back what you think you can realistically provide, and you don't have to put your name on it. But and I apologize for not having that here, but I had to see that show of hands first. Did we have anybody that was even interested? I wasn't sure. So I thank you all for giving us that sign. We have another session, Glenn, coming up after this. Or we have a break for lunch. Okay, any other questions? I don't mean to cut us off. I think there's something you got to add. Glenn and I will be up here. I hope it can work for us, okay?